Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar event. This is Joshua. I'm going to be your presenter today. We're here to talk about Church Windows payroll tax amendments. When we go into, whether it's payroll or accounting, the bulk of them we're getting are of course in payroll, but they happen for accounting too. And it's basically kind of that sweet spot in the year, right, where the tax forms have been sent out, you've distributed them to your employees or your contractors. Here we are, employees now, first week of March, they're now wanting to go, okay, I'm going to file my taxes. And then they go online and then they go and do that. And then they find that there's a mistake, something's wrong with the form that they received, whether it's amounts or wages or taxes or name information or tax ID or Social Security information. And the church has already, of course, filed those documents, those W-2s, W-3C, W-3, 1099 and 1096s to the government. And now we need to get changes made to the software, changes to those documents, and notify the government and our recipients, of course. So that's what we're getting a lot of calls about. And that's what's kind of motivated this event today, is that those calls, because now Church Windows uses the Atrix interface. There are documents, our partner documents provider, tax documents provider. And so as much as they will generate the actual forms for you when necessary, they'll also allow you to do the amendments and file and submit the appropriate forms for those as well. Okay. We're getting lots of calls about this now. Okay. It's all handled through Atrix, whether it's, again, in 1099s in accounting or whether it's employees W-2s and 1099s through payroll, okay? It doesn't matter whether you e-filed with Atrix or you printed the forms and sent them in, because the original process was done in Church Windows, then the amendment is going to be done in Church Windows too, okay? Honestly, I think this is a really great function or feature or slick feature in here, and you're just going to get kind of a taste of it. We hope you walk away with a sense of confidence of how to do this or to dive in and do it should you need to do it on your own. And of course, if you need help after it, please call us. We'll certainly do our best to help you. I, as a Church Windows technician, can help you get through our portion of it. But once if you're e-filed with Atrix and it gets kicked into their system, their support will have to take over if you have questions about what their system does, okay? First of all, and this is probably the most important part about this, is you have to have completed the original processing of, say, your W-2s, and I'm just going to use that as our example today, okay? So if I go back to tax reports here in payroll and go back to tax forms, while we can, we're going to go back to 23. While I can go to history and access that to edit it, I don't have to, okay? If I go down here to 2023 W-2, W-3 and simply click print, it will bring up the same exact window, whether I access it through history or not, okay? Because of the time frame that I'm choosing and the year and the document, Atrix knows where things are, okay? But you have to have completed this, all right? Again, I can't stress how important this is, all right? This is the window that you will see when you have completed the process and you're now needing to make corrections or amendments or changes to your original tax filings, okay? If you get a different screen, like you're in the middle of the process of producing them, then you haven't completed it. You cannot amend that cannot amend anything until you finish and complete the original process, okay? Now, again, as I stated, you can correct them whether you e-filed or you printed yourself and sent them in, okay? Of course, the big thing this year was 10 or more total returns, W-2s, 1099s, you had to e-file, and if they were less, you could mail, okay? If you're unsure which one you did, you can look right here under, in this case, I've got the W-2 history options, okay? right down here on the left, you see where it says last completed action shows printed, and in this case on February 21st, 2024. All right. If you e-filed with Atrix, it would say e-filed on and whatever date it was. Okay. That's going to be your indicator as to which option you selected or what you did when you did the original form completion. Okay. And so again, another important part about that is if you e-filed with Atrix and you need to make changes or amendments and file those, you can only e-file to make those. All right. They have to make the correction for you. There is an expense involved with that should you need to do that. I think when I was working with a couple folks a few weeks ago was that whatever amendments or changes they made, it was like $14.95. Now, I don't know that that's what their changes are across the board, but, you know, 14, 15 bucks essentially to be able to get all the necessary forms in quickly and easily seems like a fairly small price to pay. So anyway, there is an expense involved. Their system will tell you what that is when you actually open up an e-file in their system. But if you printed the forms and sent them in, there's no requirement to e-file. You can still print and send in the amended forms as well, okay? In our case, we printed them. So we're going to be able to print those and send those in, okay? So of course, the first available action on the right is correct completed W-2s. And if you have 1099s and those were completed, and if I have time warrants, I'll show you where the same exact window comes up here, okay? When doing W-2s, it just says 1099 history options, not W-2, okay? So I can e-file or print completed incomplete W-2s if I have any. I can reprint completed W-2s. I can't, if I can start over because I didn't e-file, I printed, but once you e-file, start over is not an option. Also, if you have an e-file with Atrix, you can also look up your password with them. But what we're really here to look at is the correct completed W-2s, all right? And again, 1099s functions exactly the same way, all right? So I'm going to choose corrected completed W-2s, and then I'm going to simply click next. And it now should open up. Where is it? Come on, Josh. Come on. Where is it? Let's close out of this and try this again. I'm so sorry, folks. I don't know what I'm missing here. Give me a second. This worked just a few minutes ago. Is there a window behind here? There is not. All right. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I'm missing here. Let me shut Church Windows down and relaunch it here. Let's bring up Task Manager. We'll close Tax Prepare. That's it. Let's try ending that one. There we go. Now I think we're getting somewhere. All right, so let's try this one more time. You know what, I'm just going to cancel out of this and access tax reports. I might have just kind of let it sit there too long. All right, so 2023, let's get back to that window. Click print, bring up our window. We'll choose the print or correct completed W-2s when the window comes up. Now we're back on track. Hopefully this will behave normally. And we have to wait for that window to come up. We just simply don't have any other choice because this is where and how the amendments get completed. So we choose corrected completed W-2s and click next. It now brings up the correction options page where it asks, have you distributed any of the following copies? And probably in virtually all cases, the answer to that is yes. So if I have, we're going to assume that we have given them to our employees, that we've sent them into the government, and we filed with the state. So we're going to check all three of those. Okay, and we're going to simply click continue. And pretty quickly, it takes us into the Atrix spreadsheet, all right, which is where the changes need to be made, okay? And maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't, but anything on this spreadsheet can be changed manually, okay? Some of you may be thinking, well, I made my correction to my employee's record in Church Windows Payroll. Why is that not being reflected here? Well, because Atrix has their own audit trail that they are trying to protect on your behalf, right? Wouldn't be very good if they just simply brought in updates automatically without retaining some record of what had been previously entered or filed for you, okay? So because this window is what was originally entered when forms were processed, they're not going to be reflecting the changes here, and they won't, okay? To make the long story short, you have to make the desired corrections here. Atrix won't get them from Church Windows Payroll. You have to make these corrections, all right? And I'm just going to do a couple of pretty simple ones here. So what we're going to say here is that we had an employee, say, where Jerry Williams, where his social security number was 1 digit wrong. So we're going to change that 60 to 61. And now notice when I click off that, the little 7 on the left-hand side selector box there now changes to red, and the social security number box changes color, indicating that a change has been made. Okay. Similarly, we're going to make a change to, say, somebody's wages over here. Okay. So let's see. Right here, we've got Steve Jones. He's a pastor. So we're going to say that his wages were overstated by $1,000. So we're going to change that to $1,140. And then we're going to go over, and his housing allowance under box 14 here was understated by 1,000. So we're going to change that to 9127. Okay. And again, when I click off that, the line number to the left changes and the line box changes, color changes, indicating a change has been made. Okay. You can even, folks, go so far as to do things like edit even state wages and things like that. So if I click in there and click in that, it does open up a little bit of a different editing function on it. It says edit state detail records. So if I need to make a change to something like state or local wages, right, I can come in here and either change these figures or remove them or amend them or add more rows and do what I need to and click OK until the amount that appears in, say, box 16 for state wages or, wages appears with the amount that I want for the respective employee. You have full control here to pretty much do anything you want, okay? All right, so again, we're about 3/4 of the way through the event. I'm going to have to get moving here. So we're going to now we're just going to process this exactly like we would normally with the regular say W-2 forms by clicking next. So we're just going to keep clicking next across the top, okay? It's going to pop up, excuse me, with the similar boxes that we had before about ministers with no Social Security and Medicare wages. We're just going to do continue without correcting, continuing across the top, continue without correcting. We just keep doing that like we did before, okay? And now it opens up our review data. Notice W-2 1099 prepare, and here is the report of all the forms that their system is now going to print for us. If I'm mailing them in, I'm filing them myself, they will actually be the official copies that I can send in or distribute. Or if I had e-filed, they will be the record copies that I can keep for my own records. And then as the final step, it'll then launch Atrix for you to complete the e-filing for these forms with them. So again, you can choose to print the form, and then when we go to next, it now actually opens up these forms for us to be able to, in our case, print and file. So notice, as always, in the upper left, I'm big on saying the yellow banner in the upper left tells you the number of reports and what the actual document is for. So here is the actual 941 W-2C. This is the document that I would mail in to the government. I would simply click print final. Click print final, send that to my printer, okay? I'm not connected to a printer here, folks, so I'm just going to, and it says there, and I would send that to my printer. okay? And as we did with the W-2s before, right, when we were printing them, the original forms, you're toggling between print final and next step, folks. So once I had grabbed the W-2, federal W-2C off the printer and verified it was good, I would simply go to next step. It now opens up report 2 of 7, my W-3C, that again only reflects the changes that I've made. And as we notice over here on the W-3C, it's showing wages were increased or previously reported as 12,400 and now are reduced to 11,400. So again, it's only reporting on the changes that were made, nothing more. Okay. Again, print final, send that to my printer. Okay. So again, folks, it's no different than if you were doing these normally and then just go to next step. And again, paying attention to what each one of the forms are. Okay. So now I'm doing the W-2C for the state of Ohio. This would be, I would do print final, send that to my printer. I'd set that aside with a, post-it note on it or something with as to what it's for. Okay. And then I would, put that in an envelope and send it into the state of Ohio. So then go to next step once that's printed. Here's my Ohio IT3 report, which is obviously then probably our amended W-3. So I now have to complete the red forms. And again, folks, you may have to complete some information here. Okay. And boy, I'm really having a hard time there. I guess that's the name information on it. So let's see, what is that then? Is that date, I'm assuming? So maybe, yep. I think I have a hard time seeing it. Well, we're going to assume that. I can't read that, folks. I'm so sorry. But same thing, when I've entered the red information, because every state's going to be different, I would go to print final and send that to my printer. Agree, send it to my printer. I'm just doing sending it to a PDF, folks. So I'd send that to my printer, and then I'd go to next. So it's, again, toggling between next step and print final. Here's my employee W-2C that I would then print and distribute to my employees who I had amended for. Okay, print final. Send that to my printer. Same thing. Okay, nothing is any different about this than you had done before. Okay, so it's again W-2C notice. So again, you've got to get that with the W-2C to the employees. And then finally, once I did that, we're going to say no on the printing this, the employer's W-2C. Okay, so now again, if I'm printing, I would print those and I would send them into the respective taxing authority, distribute them to my employees, employees/contractors as the case may be. If I had e-filed, I would keep those record copies, and as soon as I click next step on the final page here, I don't have a Atrix sandbox that I can show you this, but it would go right into the Atrix system and ask me to enter my login information, okay, where I would enter the username and password, okay? Then the information would get kicked into the Atrix system for you to complete your e-filing, okay? So here it says, now notice it says last completed actions are where I updated stuff on, in this case, March 7th, 2024, okay? And I would simply close this, okay? So I'm going to, well, as long as it's not locked up here, it looks like. I don't know if it's, oh, there it is. It's back now. But if I go to the 1099 NEC form now, I hope, let's try this. If I went to the 1099 NEC, folks, here, and this would be true whether I did this in accounting or in payroll, it will open up the exact same window. Okay? All right. What is locked up here? I don't know. I admit I'm not working with a terribly fast machine, folks. I'm so sorry. Let's try this here. Let's see, prepare and task. Let's do that. All right. That seems to have, there we go. It's closed. All right, so if we go back to tax forms, we're about a minute or two long here, folks. I'm so sorry. If I choose the 1099s for 2023 and the process was completed and I click print, It opens up the same window. That's what I was saying before, was the process is exactly the same. It's just different forms, different information. That's all. Okay. I just want to show the window how it comes up here is exactly the same. It is. See, there it is. And again, it would say either printed or e-filed, and I have the same choice or options as I had with my W-2s as well. Okay. Folks, if you need assistance with this or need help, I myself, any one of my other technicians will do our absolute best to try to assist you with this, but there's nothing terribly challenging about it. It's just dive in and, explore it. You can always close out, and if it says, do you want to save your work, you can say no, and it'll just take you right back to the last point where it occurred. Okay? So that is where we are going to leave our topic for today.